Hello, welcome back to Dorian's Corner, where we talk about everything domestic violence. So I will be starting off with that series, the domestic violence, and then we'll break off into other things later. But right now, I'm devoting this series to domestic violence. So it's the A to Z journey through domestic violence. I am proud to say I am a domestic violence survivor, and I have a lot of information that I would like to share with you to help you to get out of that situation. I give you some tips and different things like that. So A was acceptance. So you'll see that in one of my other videos. It talks about accepting where you're at so you can do something about it. Okay. B is for bitterness. Basically, it talks about the bitterness that you feel being in a situation like that, because it's nothing good about it. I mean, it's truly just bitterness is what you get out of those situations. Okay. C is Christ's love. So Christ's love is what I found through my journey, just trying to figure out how to get out of it and how did I end up there, and just a peace that passes all understanding, showing ways that Christ helped me to navigate that situation and to get out safely. D was discouragement. So it just talks about how you are just truly discouraged in those situations. You just don't know what to do, and then you're so discouraged it feels like you cannot move. It just feels like you can't move because you're so discouraged. E is the letter we'll talk about today. E is emotional roller coaster. Okay, so through these situations, I have just felt like I was on an emotional roller coaster. I never knew when an argument was gonna start, when a fight was gonna start. I didn't know what to say, how to say it. I didn't know what to do or how to do it, because you're literally walking on eggshells. You have no idea what sets them off. I mean, you just don't, because every little thing sets them off. Any little thing sets them off. If you get too much attention, that sets them off. If you are maybe conversating with a different person that they're not aware of, that can set them off. If you're like standing there talking too long, that might set them off. If you get a message on your phone and they don't know who it is, I mean, that might set them off. If they like ask to see your phone because they're not trusting who you're saying you're talking to, things like that will set them off. It's just a control factor. I mean, they have to have that, and if they do not have that, it sets them off. If they're having a bad day, it sets them off. Like it's just any and everything, that sets them off. So it's really hard to have regulated emotions when you're dealing with a dysregulated person. And that's what they are. They are dysregulated human beings, that being males or females, because we know domestic violence can occur at the hands of males and females. It's not just one. It's not just one sex over the other. Granted, I believe that there's more women, females that's in domestic violence relationships than men. Also, women, females rather, are more likely to report it than males do. So I think there's more males than we even realize, but they just don't report it as much as females do. But just saying all that to say, you can't judge book by its cover. So domestic violence abusers come in all shapes, sizes, forms, backgrounds, socioeconomic statuses. So it's not just the people that you can probably interact with them and probably can tell, like maybe possibly they're an abuser. They don't always come that way. Some of them you can absolutely not tell, but the ones that's in a relationship with them, now those are the ones that know. You know when you are in a situation to where the person is making you feel bad. Sometimes it's unintentional, but guess what? Sometimes it's on purpose. And when it's on purpose, it's domestic violence, but also unintentional could also be domestic violence. When someone's verbally assaulting you, financially abusing you, physically abusing you, all those are domestic violence situations. And it's something you don't deserve. You don't deserve that at all. No one has the right to make you feel less than. No one has the right to do that. So if they are upset with you for whatever reason, they still do not have the right to assault you in any way. Verbally assault, financially assault, physically assault. It doesn't matter, because if they do not have enough emotional intelligence to interact with you on a respectful level, then they're not ready for a relationship, it sounds like. And I think I said in one of my other videos, it's not your job to teach them how to do that. They need to come in as a whole person, not a piece of a person, trying to take out their frustrations on you. And they are frustrated quite a bit, because that's just who they are. And you can't change that. You could be the happiest, most bubbliest person ever, but if you're dealing with someone that is not that way, and they're the vast opposite of the way you are, and they're negative all the time, like most of them are, the majority of them are, unless they're trying to trick someone into believing they're not that way, because we know they have a totally different persona outside than they do like indoors, where people cannot hear them, especially people that they would like to impress, or the people that they would like to charm, or the ones that they're trying to fool into thinking that they are not that way. They know how to they know how to pretend. They are very good pretenders. They will make the whole world think it's just you that's having an issue. It's not them at all. So they'll say underhanded things to where only you hear it, but then you respond because you're like loud, or you're like shocked at what they said, and you're trying to respond, and you do respond. So then it makes it look like it's you that has the issue. It just looks like it's you that's kind of going off on them out of nowhere. And they know that, and they enjoy that. So, like I said, it's not your job to fix them, just like it's not their job to fix you. And it's not their job to feel like they need to like discipline you. Like, they don't need to discipline you. They're not supposed to do that. And if they feel like they need to do that, then they need to not be in that relationship, because they have no right to do that. So one of the things you want to make sure you do is to reach out to that domestic violence hotline. Like, it tells you different ways that you can get out of the situation safely, and you can talk to a live person even. They have so many different ways, nowadays, to reach out to those people. And also, I mean, we Google just about anything else. So we can Google ways to leave safely. We can Google the domestic violence hotline and Google different tips that we can use to get out of those situations, and red flags. If you haven't heard enough of them from me, you can look at those red flags. That's all online. You can look up those things. You can go to the police station. They will help you find different like domestic violence shelters, different things like that, to where your family is safe. Because at the end of the day, that's what I want for you. I want that for everyone that's listening. Or if you know someone else that's going through that, you want to try to get those resources for them. Even if they're not ready to leave yet, you can still give them the resources. So maybe once they do get to that point, they'll already have like a bag of tools that they can use, that's going to help them to navigate those waters, because it's tough. It's hard. Just imagine if you are used to being on an emotional roller coaster. So once you start like coming to yourselves and coming to your senses and thinking like, okay, this is actually a bad situation that I'm in. Sometimes you've been beaten down so bad, even though you know that you're in a tough situation, a bad situation that you need to get out of. Sometimes you just don't even have the energy to move anymore. Your emotions are just all over the place. And sometimes you just feel like you're just emotionally numb. And we do that to like preserve our sanity. You really do that to preserve your sanity and to not get your hopes up, because more bad times are coming. So the way we protect ourselves is just going numb. But that's not good either. That's not good, because once you do get to the point where you leave that relationship, when you go into another relationship, you're sort of taking that numbness with you, because remember, all those emotions are inside of you. So you're taking those with you because they are a part of you, which is why you got to protect it. You have to protect your peace. You have to protect your sanity. You protect it from people that are doing harm to you. Because sometimes those things have long-term effects. So once you get out of this relationship, this horrible relationship that's doing all these ungodly things to you, all these horrible things to you, and you finally find a relationship that's not like that, there's some work you're going to have to do on yourself, like to get to a point to where you're emotionally stable and you're able to see red flags for what they are. You're able to provide yourself with more self-care, and you can recognize the signs of the things you were going through before, so you can make sure you don't repeat them. But when you get into that new relationship, that's probably the total opposite of that domestic violence one, you may not be seeing signs right. You may not be naming your emotions correctly. You may see a red flag where there is none, because your emotions was so dysregulated and it was on such a roller coaster. It's sometimes hard to believe that you're not on that roller coaster anymore. But your emotions don't know that. So you have to honestly train yourself to kind of take deep breaths, even if that's going to help. So you can kind of picture where you're at and know where you're at. So you can tell yourself that, okay, I'm safe. I'm fine. This person does not mean me any harm. It's just a simple disagreement. It is nothing remotely like the situation I was in before. And you have to just constantly do that with yourself. You have to check in with yourself. Okay? You have to absolutely do that, because you're almost relearning yourself. Okay? Because you're not the same self you were when you was in a domestic violence relationship. Okay? So if you're still in that relationship now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Your emotions are all over the place. Your joy is gone. And a lot of times when you have those, like, I guess, pieces of joy and pieces of happiness, they don't last very long. But in front of people, you may, pretend you are joyful and happy and those different things. But on the inside, you are like, you're rotten from the inside. You just are. Whether you realize people know it or not, sometimes they don't know it, but you know it. And the one person you have to be honest with, if no one else, will be yourself. So you don't want to get up every morning pretending that you're happy and you're not. Pretending that you're joyful and you're not. Pretending that you're being treated correctly in a relationship, but you're not. How harmful is that to our self-esteem? Okay, we're telling ourselves one thing and we're showing the world something else. You have nothing to prove to the world. Nothing. Nothing at all. But you do need to prove it to yourself that you should be treated right. You should be loved. You should not be treated wrong or mean, or just, for someone to make you feel like you are less than. Nobody has the right to do that. And people have the power that you give them. So you may feel powerless right now. I know I've been there. I understand you feel powerless. You really do. And unless someone has been in a situation like that, they would not understand what I mean. But you are in it, or you know somebody that's in it, and you feel powerless. However, you have more power than you realize. But you have to get to the point where you realize that. Okay? So whatever emotional state you're in, whatever piece of yourself you feel like you can go ahead and muster up and get out of that situation, it's going to lead to a better life long term. Okay? And I know it might feel like it's just going to go on forever. It is not. It is totally up to you. You have the power to change your situation. You've always had the power. And I'm sorry that you didn't know that. You don't know that. And I didn't know that. It took me a great while to realize that. Okay? People have power that you give them. So you really need to take back your power. You need to own it. Okay? It's not up to you to fix anyone. And it's not up to them to fix you. Okay? Sounds like they did not come in that relationship whole. They came in damaged, and they're taking it out on you, which is not fair. It's not right. Okay? Nothing about it is right. If they cannot handle things, like if they're upset with you about whatever, everybody gets upset. It's the way you handle it. Okay? So to take that out on you negatively, and you can't just have like a regular conversation and talk things through in a manner to where it's not being disrespectful or belittling or anything, then that person doesn't need to have a conversation with you. You should not give them the right to be in your presence in that way. You know, let them go on with their lives and do whatever it is they're going to do with their lives. We wish the best. We never wish for any harm to come upon anyone. However, they are putting you in a position where your safety is in question. Now just imagine, do they deserve that? You know? But it's up to you. It's totally up to you. And I know you do not feel like you can do that. You know? I've been there. I have been there. However, eventually you want to get to the point, like now, I won't even say eventually, I'm going to take that back right now. You want to get to the point now that you make steps to leave that situation. I will have the domestic violence hotline number on here at the end of the video. Definitely, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Definitely send it to someone that needs it, that you feel may need it, or that person may know someone else that needs it. So just share it with everyone to make sure we're covering everyone. Okay? And if you have any comments or different types of resources or something else that I may have left out that could benefit someone, definitely, please, I would beg you to put that in the comments so we all can have that information, because it's going to take all of us to help each other. You know, sometimes we cannot, or we feel like we cannot get out of those situations on our own. So we need people like you that probably have information that we don't have, or probably know another way for someone to get out of a situation like this. Okay? Because I mean, our days can literally be numbered in these types of situations, because you never know when that moment is going to come to where they just flip out even worse than you would have ever imagined. Okay? And I have learned that the most dangerous time is when you're trying to leave, which is why it's so important to have that safety plan and that leave plan. Your exit plan needs to be well thought out. I am not for 1 second saying stay a long time just to make sure you have a safe exit plan. I'm saying go ahead and start working on the exit plan. Go ahead and reach out to the domestic violence hotline, or Google domestic violence hotline online. Definitely still start getting that plan together. And do not take long actually executing it. We can have everything we need right in our hands, but if we don't execute it, it's the same as just standing in a situation, allowing that person to continue to do that. Because one thing sometimes people don't realize, we teach people how to treat us. So think about it. In a domestic violence situation, they have learned that they can treat us that way, and we're going to allow it, and we're going to stay with them. So you really think them knowing that is going to make them stop doing what they're doing? No. Nope. All you're doing is confirming to them that they can do it, which is why they're going to continue doing it. Not that it's your fault. I would never say that, because domestic violence is not anyone's fault but the abuser, the one that's doing it. It's their fault that they're doing that. But you want to make sure that you leave that situation, because we cannot control anybody. Obviously not. If we can control them, we would have made them stop. But some people, you just have to leave the situation. You just have to leave the situation. Okay? You don't want to teach them that they can do these things to you, and you'll just stay. Okay? You are much too valuable to yourself. You're much too valuable to your family and your loved ones and your friends and everyone else that knows you're awesome and fabulous, and everyone else that will be just destroyed if anything happens to you. I mean, you ever think about it that way? You know, that's not fair to them. Okay, so until next time, definitely like, share, and subscribe these videos. Subscribe to my channel, and make sure you're keeping up to date on all things domestic violence. All right. Wait, thank you. You have a wonderful day, and I hope you exit soon, sooner than later. Bye.